What if your first impression of someone was all wrong? What if the person you swore you'd never love turned out to be the one your heart was always waiting for?
Welcome to the world of scandalous secrets, sharp wit, and forbidden romance, where pride blinds hearts and prejudice hides the truth. This isn't just another love story. This is Jane Austen's battlefield of class, courtship, and reputation.
You think you know Mr. Darcy? Think again.
Hello, everyone. Hi, all, and welcome to BookPodCastZone. I'm Emma.
And I'm John. Today we're embarking on, well, quite a journey into Jane Austen's absolute timeless classic, Pride and Prejudice.
That's right. And our mission really is to extract the most important nuggets of knowledge and insight from a fantastic chapter-by-chapter companion guide.
Exactly. We want to help you, our listener, understand the enduring relevance of this novel, its exploration of love, class, and maybe most importantly, personal growth.
Yeah, we'll unpack the key plot points naturally, but also dive into the historical context, the Regency-era stuff, and connect it all to some pretty surprising modern real-world examples.
All while highlighting Jane Austen's incredible sharp wit and her profound insights into, well, us, human nature.
Absolutely. We've got a lot to unpack, so let's jump right in with Volume 1. This is where all those crucial first impressions start forming, and the tensions really begin to mount.
Okay, so Chapter 1. We kick things off with the foundational setup, the marriage market. We're introduced straight away to the, let's say, lively Bennet family in Longbourn.
Lively is one word for it. Chaotic might be another.
Huh, true. And Mrs. Bennet is, well, she's consumed with marrying off her 5 daughters, her immediate target, the wealthy newcomer, Mr. Bingley, who's just rented Netherfield Park nearby.
It's almost comical, her single-mindedness, right from that iconic opening line. You know the one. It is a truth universally acknowledged.
That a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife? Yep. It sets the satirical tone immediately.
Exactly. Austen isn't just telling a story. She's critiquing a system, straight up. Marriage, especially for women like the Bennets, wasn't primarily about love. It was a stark economic necessity.
That's the real gut punch, isn't it, when you remember the entailment?
Precisely. The family estate, Longbourn, is entailed away from the daughters to a male heir. Meaning, if Mr. Bennet dies, they could be, well, essentially homeless and penniless if they haven't married well.
It really highlights the patriarchal structure and the vulnerability of women. Mrs. Bennet's desperation, while often funny, comes from a place of very real fear.
Absolutely. And you mentioned modern parallels. It's not a huge leap to think about shows like, say, Indian matchmaking on Netflix.
A good one, yeah. Where families are still deeply involved. And, compatibility often includes financial stability and status, not just sparks flying.
Right. The pressures look different today, maybe less overt. But the idea of marriage as a strategic move for social or financial gain, it's still around.
Austen's genius is using that humor to expose the absurdity, the almost transactional nature of it all, while hinting at the deeper need for genuine connection.
Spot on. She makes you laugh, but she also makes you think about the real pressures.
Okay, so that's Chapter 1, laying the groundwork. Remember, folks, if you're enjoying this deep dive, please like, subscribe, and share. It really helps us out. Now, on to Chapter 2.
Right, Chapter 2, anticipating the ball. So, Mr. Bennet, in a rare moment of action, has secretly visited Mr. Bingley already, which of course thrills Mrs. Bennet to no end.
She's ecstatic. And the whole family, especially the girls, is buzzing with anticipation for the upcoming Meryton ball. This is the big event, the place to see and be seen.
And this really underscores how crucial these social events were. Balls were the primary stage for young women to, well, display their eligibility. You had to navigate strict etiquette, make a good impression. It directly impacted your marriage prospects.
It's like a high-stakes networking event today, maybe? Or even, in a weird way, like crafting the perfect profile on a dating app like Tinder.
That's a great comparison. Those first impressions, those quick judgments, whether it's across a ballroom or swiping on a screen, they really shape opportunities.
And Austen subtly critiques this superficiality, right?
Yeah.
She's setting us up for the major misunderstandings that are going to drive the whole plot based on these snap judgments.
Exactly. It's all about appearances and assumptions at this stage.
All right, really appreciate you sticking with us. If you find this useful, do like, subscribe, and share for more updates. Let's move into the ball itself in Chapter 3.
Chapter 3. The Meryton Ball. Okay, this is where it all happens. The doors open, the music plays.
And Mr. Bingley is basically a human golden retriever. He's charming, friendly, dances with practically everyone, and crucially, he dances with Jane Bennet multiple times.
Yes, sparking that immediate mutual interest. He's the perfect gentleman, seemingly. But then his friend arrives.
Enter Mr. Darcy. Tall, handsome, rich, and incredibly proud and aloof.
And he delivers that infamous line. When Bingley suggests he dance with Elizabeth, Darcy dismisses her as
Tolerable, but not handsome enough to tempt me. Ouch. And the worst part, Elizabeth overhears him.
Right there, that's the inciting incident for their entire relationship. Her prejudice is instantly ignited by his blatant pride. Austen literally gives us the title themes in this one interaction.
That refusal to dance, it wasn't just rude. It was a significant social snub in Regency society. Dancing was a very public act, signaling interest or rejection.
Definitely. It's like being pointedly ignored by someone important in a professional setting today, maybe at a conference or meeting, or even being publicly dismissed on social media. That kind of slight shapes perceptions immediately.
It's amazing how quickly Austen establishes that central conflict. Pride meets prejudice, head on.
It's masterful writing.
Okay, fascinating stuff. Again, if you're finding value here, please do like, subscribe, and share. It helps others find us. Onwards to Chapter 4.
Chapter 4, Jane and Bingley's Connection. So after the ball, Jane and Bingley are clearly drawn to each other. They admire each other's good nature, kindness, beauty. It seems like a perfect match brewing.
Very sweet, very idealistic. But then Elizabeth discusses this budding romance with her friend Charlotte Lucas.
And Charlotte offers a very different perspective, doesn't she? She's much more pragmatic. She advises Jane to basically secure Bingley quickly, emphasizing the practical side of marriage over waiting for deep, proven love.
Yeah, it's a real contrast. Jane's romantic idealism versus Charlotte's realism. It explores those different motivations for marriage we talked about earlier.
And Charlotte's viewpoint is shaped by her reality. As a woman with few prospects, financial security through marriage was a logical priority. It wasn't necessarily cynical, just practical, given the limited economic opportunities for women then.
It still resonates today, that debate, love versus stability. You see articles all the time about the importance of aligned financial goals or marrying someone who is, a good provider.
Austen just highlights that timeless tension so well, the pull between what the heart wants and what society or practicality dictates.
Definitely food for thought.
Yeah.
Okay, reminder time, like, subscribe, share if you're enjoying the deep dive. Let's see what Chapter 5 brings.
Chapter 5, Gossip and the Militia. The neighborhood is still buzzing after the ball. The Bennet and Lucas families gossip endlessly. Bingley gets universal praise. Darcy gets universal criticism. Standard small-town stuff.
But then, new excitement. The militia regiment arrives and sets up camp near Meryton. This is huge news, especially for the younger Bennet sisters, Kitty and Lydia.
Oh, they're thrilled. Officers in uniform. It brings a whole new social dynamic. And crucially, this is where we get the first proper introduction, or at least mention, of a certain Mr. Wickham.
Ah, yes, the charming soldier.
Yeah.
His arrival is subtly woven in here.
Austen uses gossip so effectively. It's not just background noise. It reveals character flaws, Mrs. Bennet's lack of discretion, for instance, and it drives the plot forward by shaping reputations.
And the militia's arrival is a direct reflection of the time, right? The Napoleonic Wars meant soldiers were often stationed in rural towns. It created social opportunities, sure, but also potential risks for young women.
Definitely. It foreshadows complications, especially for Lydia and Kitty, and the gossip. Think about how quickly rumors or opinions spread on a platform like X today. One person's tweet or comment gets amplified, shared, and suddenly it's shaping how thousands perceive someone.
Very true. Meryton's gossip network was the 19th century version, fueling prejudice and setting the stage for misunderstanding.
Precisely.
Super interesting connection. If you agree, let us know by liking, subscribing, or sharing. Moving on to Chapter 6.
Chapter 6, Wickham's Charm. All right, now Elizabeth actually meets the handsome Mr. Wickham, and he is charm personified.
Instantly likable. And he singles Elizabeth out, sharing his story. His tragic backstory involving Mr. Darcy.
Yes, he paints a very convincing picture of being grievously wronged by Darcy, claiming Darcy denied him an inheritance promised by Darcy's own father. It sounds entirely credible.
And Elizabeth, already predisposed to think badly of Darcy, totally buys it. This encounter massively deepens her prejudice.
Wickham is the perfect foil to Darcy. Darcy is reserved and seemingly arrogant. Wickham is open, charming, and seemingly victimized. It highlights Elizabeth's vulnerability to charisma, despite her intelligence.
It taps right into themes of trust, deception, and how easily we can misjudge based on surface appearances. It's like modern catfishing, isn't it?
Exactly. Someone creates this appealing, sympathetic online persona, hiding their true, often malicious intentions. Wickham's charm works in precisely the same way.
Austen just brilliantly illustrates how easily charm can cloud judgment. It foreshadows the painful lessons Elizabeth will eventually have to learn about her own discernment.
It's a pivotal moment for her prejudice.
Definitely. Hope you're finding these connections useful. If so, please like, subscribe, and share. Let's continue with Chapter 7.
Chapter 7. Jane's illness. So Jane gets invited to Netherfield by the Bingley sisters. Mrs. Bennet, in a stroke of genius matchmaking,
Sends her on horseback knowing it's going to rain, hoping she'll get stuck there.
which is exactly what happens. Jane catches a bad cold and is forced to stay at Netherfield to recover.
And Elizabeth, being the fiercely loyal sister she is, gets worried and decides she has to go see her. But she can't get the carriage.
So she walks 3 miles through muddy fields, arriving at Netherfield with flushed cheeks and a petticoat 6 inches deep in mud.
It's such a bold move.
Yeah,
Very unconventional for a lady of her standing. Women's mobility was quite restricted.
absolutely. It shows her strength, her loyalty, her disregard for superficial propriety when something important is at stake. And ironically, this very act impresses Darcy. He sees her spirit.
But it horrifies Bingley's sisters, Miss Bingley and Mrs. Hurst. They see it as unfeminine and common.
It perfectly contrasts Elizabeth's genuine care with the sisters' snobbery and pretension. And it introduces that crucial romantic tension. Darcy is clearly starting to admire Elizabeth, even as she clashes with his social circle.
Her defiance feels quite modern, actually. Like women today challenging workplace biases or societal expectations about how they should behave. It's that spark of agency.
Austen highlights that agency, and it's precisely what draws Darcy in, despite himself.
Fascinating character dynamics. Okay, quick pause to remind you. Like, subscribe, share. Let's see how things unfold at Netherfield in Chapter 8.
Chapter 8. Tensions at Netherfield. Elizabeth stays at Netherfield to nurse Jane. This puts her in close proximity to Darcy and the Bingley sisters for an extended period.
And sparks fly. But maybe not the romantic kind initially. She engages in some brilliant verbal sparring, especially with Darcy and Miss Bingley.
Yes, Austen uses this witty dialogue masterfully. It reveals Elizabeth's intelligence, her refusal to be intimidated, and it shows Darcy becoming increasingly fascinated by her, drawn to her fine eyes and lively mind.
Miss Bingley is just dripping with jealousy, isn't she? She sees Darcy paying attention to Elizabeth and tries constantly to subtly, and not so subtly, put her down.
Oh, completely. Her behavior highlights the intense competition within the marriage market and the rigid social hierarchies. Status was everything.
It feels a bit like some workplace rivalries you see today, or even online clout chasing. People vying for attention, status, and reminding others. The dynamics are surprisingly similar.
Austen uses this confined setting and the verbal battles to reveal character, deepen the romantic tension, and really underscore the social stakes. Jane is getting better, but the atmosphere is thick with unspoken feelings and rivalries.
Great analysis. We hope you're enjoying it too. Please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share. Now for Chapter 9, brace yourselves.
Chapter 9. Mrs. Bennet's visit. Oh boy. Just when Elizabeth is navigating the tricky social waters at Netherfield, her mother decides to visit.
Along with Kitty and Lydia.
Yeah.
And it's a disaster.
Pretty much. Mrs. Bennet completely embarrasses Elizabeth with her lack of tact, her loud pronouncements, her bragging about Jane's prospects with Bingley.
And Lydia is just irrepressible, flirting openly with the officers who happen to be there too. Elizabeth is mortified.
This scene starkly highlights the Bennet family's social shortcomings. It contrasts Elizabeth's natural refinement with her mother's and younger sister's utter lack of decorum.
In Regency society, proper behavior, especially in front of high-status people like Darcy and the Bingleys, was absolutely crucial for reputation. Mrs. Bennet's blunders actively risk damaging her daughter's prospects.
It's like those cringeworthy public faux pas people make today, maybe oversharing embarrassing family details on social media or behaving badly at a formal event. It can seriously harm reputations.
Austen uses this to show how family behavior impacts social standing, putting even more pressure on Elizabeth, who feels responsible yet powerless.
It reinforces the class tensions and Darcy's internal conflict about his growing attraction to someone with such embarrassing connections.
Makes you feel for Elizabeth, doesn't it? If you feel the same, give us a like, subscribe, or share. Let's see if Darcy is deterred in Chapter 10.
Chapter 10. Darcy's admiration grows. Despite the embarrassing family visit, Darcy's fascination with Elizabeth doesn't seem to wane. If anything, it deepens.
They continue their playful banter, their verbal sparring, and Darcy finds himself increasingly drawn to her wit, her intelligence, her refusal to just flatter him like everyone else.
Miss Bingley keeps trying her best to undermine Elizabeth, trying to point out her flaws or her family's lack of connections, but Darcy remains intrigued. He's clearly fighting an internal battle.
This chapter really focuses on that deepening romantic tension. We see Darcy's attraction growing despite his pride and his reservations about her family. Elizabeth's independence just makes her stand out more.
And that wit. Conversation and cleverness were highly valued skills in Regency courtship. It was one way women, even those without vast fortunes like Elizabeth, could really shine and capture attention.
It's like today, isn't it? A really engaging conversation, sharp debate, or witty online exchange can absolutely spark attraction. That intellectual connection can be powerful.
Austen masterfully uses their dialogue not just for entertainment, but to reveal that growing mutual attraction, even though it's layered under antagonism and social barriers.
It's the classic enemies to lovers setup beginning to simmer. Okay, loving this breakdown. Let us know with a like, subscribe, or share. What happens as Jane recovers in Chapter 11?
Chapter 11. Jane recovers. Jane is finally well enough to leave Netherfield, and Elizabeth is eager to get home.
But the dynamics at Netherfield remain tense right up to the end. Miss Bingley is still desperately vying for Darcy's attention, almost fawning over him.
And Darcy. He's grappling internally. Austen really lets us see his struggle here. He's clearly falling for Elizabeth, but the implications, her lower social status, her embarrassing family, are a huge hurdle for his pride and his sense of duty to his own standing.
He's attracted, but she's still largely unaware of the depth of his feelings, right?
Yes.
She just sees his continued, sometimes confusing attention.
Exactly. The chapter explores his internal conflict. Marrying someone significantly below your class was a major social taboo, especially for someone of Darcy's stature. It created a real dilemma.
We still see echoes of that today, don't we?
Yep.
Relationships navigating significant class or status differences, maybe facing family disapproval or societal judgment. Dating across economic divides can still be complex.
Absolutely. Austen is showing how powerful emotions like love can start to challenge deeply ingrained social norms and prejudices. It sets the stage for Darcy's eventual, necessary transformation.
He has a long way to go, though. Okay, another reminder. Like, subscribe, and share if you're enjoying the journey. Let's head back home in Chapter 12.
Chapter 12. Return to Longbourn. Jane and Elizabeth finally arrive back home. Mrs. Bennet is, of course, disappointed that Bingley hasn't proposed to Jane yet.
Back to the relative quiet, or maybe just a different kind of chaos, of Longbourn. The family settles back into their routine.
And what's the routine for Lydia and Kitty? Obsessing over the militia officers who are still stationed nearby.
Naturally, their focus hasn't shifted at all.
Austen uses this return to contrast the calmer, domestic sphere of Longbourn with the high-stakes social whirl of Netherfield. It highlights the different priorities and maturity levels of the sisters.
And the continued presence of the militia definitely keeps that foreshadowing of trouble alive, especially concerning Lydia.
Right. Rural life was generally quieter, but external events like the arrival of the militia could stir up immense local excitement and disruption. It's like how small towns today can get completely absorbed by a local event, or how a social media trend can suddenly dominate conversations.
Austen shows how these external influences disrupt domestic life and subtly hint at the complications still to come for the Bennet family.
It feels like a brief lull before the next wave of characters arrive.
Indeed. Speaking of which, if you're tracking with us, please like, subscribe, and share. Get ready for Chapter 13.
Chapter 13. Mr. Collins arrives, and here he is. Mr. Collins, the cousin who stands to inherit Longbourn due to the entailment, he arrives for a visit.
And his purpose is very clear from the start. He intends to marry one of the Bennet daughters, viewing it as a way to, make amends for inheriting their home.
His personality is something else. Pompous, overly formal, obsequious, completely lacking in self-awareness.
Elizabeth is immediately annoyed by him, finding him utterly ridiculous. Mr. Bennet, on the other hand, is thoroughly amused.
Austen introduces Mr. Collins as a brilliant satirical figure. He perfectly mocks the self-important, sycophantic clergy of the time, and his very practical, almost cold-blooded marriage plan starkly highlights the economic pressures on women again.
Clergymen held respected positions, but figures like Collins, lacking charm or real intellect, were often targets of gentle ridicule in society and literature.
We definitely still encounter Mr. Collins types today, don't we? Overly formal, self-important people in workplaces or social circles who just seem absurdly unaware of how they come across.
Absolutely. Austen uses his character not just for laughs, but as sharp satire, critiquing social climbers and the often brutal realities of the marriage market.
He's a masterpiece of cringe comedy.
He really is. Find Mr. Collins as fascinatingly awful as we do. Like, subscribe, share. Let's delve deeper into his character in Chapter 14.
Chapter 14, Mr. Collins's character. We learn more about Mr. Collins, particularly his relationship with his patroness, the very grand and imposing Lady Catherine de Bourgh.
He cannot stop talking about her, praising her house, her furniture, her opinions. It's pure obsequiousness. He's completely in awe of her rank and wealth.
Yes, his character is defined by this deference to status. The Bennets, despite finding him utterly ridiculous, have to tolerate him because, well, he holds their future home in his hands.
Austen uses him to continue her satire of class pretensions and that kind of blind loyalty to status. His constant name-dropping of Lady Catherine underscores the power dynamics of the patronage system.
Right. Wealthy aristocrats like Lady Catherine held immense power over the careers and lives of lower clergy like Mr. Collins. His future depended on keeping her happy.
It's like those yes men we talked about earlier in corporate or political circles today. That fawning devotion to powerful figures, mirroring Mr. Collins perfectly.
Austen is just ruthlessly exposing the absurdity of blind deference to authority and status. It's a timeless critique.
And poor Elizabeth has to sit through his endless droning about Lady Catherine. Okay, time for our check-in. Like, subscribe, and share for more. Let's switch gears back to Wickham in Chapter 15.
Chapter 15, Wickham's Story. Elizabeth encounters Wickham again, and she learns more details from him about his supposed mistreatment by Darcy.
He really elaborates this time, painting Darcy as utterly cruel and unjust, claiming Darcy defied his own father's dying wish to provide for Wickham, leaving him penniless out of sheer malice.
And Wickham delivers this story with such apparent sincerity and charm. Elizabeth, already heavily prejudiced against Darcy and charmed by Wickham, completely believes him.
This chapter is crucial. It deepens the exploration of deception and trust. Wickham's charisma is his weapon, and it completely blinds Elizabeth despite her usual intelligence. It sets up the core misunderstanding that drives so much of the plot.
Inheritance disputes, as we mentioned, were plausible. Wickham's story has just enough detail to seem completely convincing to someone ready to believe the worst of Darcy.
It's like falling for a sophisticated scam or believing misinformation online today, isn't it? When a story plays on your existing biases or emotions, it's much easier to accept it without question.
Exactly. Austen shows how compelling narratives, especially those delivered with charm, can shape perceptions, even if they are built on lies. It's a critical lesson Elizabeth hasn't learned yet.
She's digging herself deeper into prejudice here. If you're following along, please like, subscribe, and share. Let's see Wickham's influence continue in Chapter 16.
Chapter 16, Wickham's influence. The plot thickens. Elizabeth is at a social gathering, likely a card party at her Aunt Phillips's house in Meryton. Wickham is there too.
And he continues his campaign against Darcy, elaborating on Darcy's alleged cruelty and pride, further convincing Elizabeth and everyone else present who overhears.
Elizabeth, now fully Team Wickham, openly shares her strong dislike of Darcy with others. The dramatic irony. Darcy himself unexpectedly arrives at the gathering.
Oh, awkward. She's bad-mouthing him, totally unaware he's nearby or has just walked in.
Exactly. This chapter deepens Elizabeth's prejudice, showing just how completely Wickham's charm and gossip have clouded her judgment. It builds the tension for future revelations and confrontations.
Reputation was so fragile back then. Wickham's calculated gossip could genuinely ruin Darcy's standing in the local community, even if based on lies.
It has echoes of modern cancel culture, as we discussed. Partial stories or accusations spread rapidly on social media, and reputations can be damaged almost instantly, sometimes unfairly. Wickham is essentially running a 19th century smear campaign.
Austen highlights the real dangers of unchecked gossip and how easily prejudice can be fueled, setting the stage for Elizabeth's eventual, painful realization of the truth.
It's a masterclass in dramatic irony.
Totally agree. Okay, quick reminder for our listeners. Like, subscribe, share. Big event coming up in Chapter 17.
Chapter 17, the Netherfield Ball. This is the ball hosted by Bingley at Netherfield Park, a major social event.
And Elizabeth goes into it with one main hope: dancing with the charming Mr. Wickham.
Wickham doesn't show up. He's conspicuously absent, sending his apologies, which is interesting.
Very interesting. Raises a few questions about his avoidance of Darcy, perhaps. But instead of Wickham, who asks Elizabeth to dance?
Mr. Darcy himself. much to Elizabeth's surprise, and probably Darcy's too.
And she accepts. Despite her intense dislike, social convention and maybe a flicker of something else compels her.
Their dance is tense, filled with witty, almost barbed exchanges. But underneath the antagonism, Austen hints at an undeniable, unexpected chemistry.
The dance itself is symbolic, isn't it? A structured interaction forcing closeness between two people who are emotionally poles apart. Wickham's absence also hangs in the air, adding to the intrigue.
Dances were significant. Each set, each partner carried social weight. Elizabeth and Darcy dancing together is notable, especially given their initial Meryton encounter.
It's like those awkward but strangely charged moments at modern events, a work party dance floor maybe, where proximity forces an interaction that shifts the dynamic even slightly.
Austen uses the dance brilliantly as a metaphor for their complex connection, showing that attraction can spark even amidst strong pride and deep prejudice.
So much simmering under the surface. If you're enjoying the analysis, please like, subscribe, and share. Let's stay at the ball for Chapter 18.
Chapter 18. Ball Drama. The Netherfield ball continues, and for Elizabeth, the embarrassment mounts. Her family members are not behaving well.
Understatement. Mrs. Bennet is talking loudly and indiscreetly, boasting about Jane's likely engagement to Bingley. Mary Bennet insists on singing and playing the piano, poorly and for too long.
And Kitty and Lydia are flirting outrageously with the officers. Mr. Collins keeps awkwardly inserting himself near Darcy. It's a social train wreck from Elizabeth's perspective.
She's mortified, and she knows Darcy and the Bingleys are witnessing all of it. She even clashes again with Darcy during their dance, referencing Wickham.
Yet, despite her family's mortifying behavior, Darcy's fascination with Elizabeth, her spirit and intelligence, seems only to grow. He's observing her, intrigued by how she handles it all.
Public behavior at balls was intensely scrutinized. Any impropriety reflected badly on the entire family and could seriously damage their social standing and marriage prospects.
Think about those viral videos of family members causing embarrassing scenes in public today at weddings, graduations, etc. You feel that secondhand cringe, just like Elizabeth does.
Austen really drives home how family dynamics and social behavior affect individual prospects, adding another layer to Elizabeth's challenges and Darcy's internal conflict.
It makes his continued interest even more significant.
Absolutely. Okay, feeling Elizabeth's pain. Show some love. Like, subscribe, share. Now for a major moment in Chapter 19.
Chapter 19, Mr. Collins' Proposal. The day after the ball, Mr. Collins decides it's time. He corners Elizabeth.
And delivers one of the most famously awful marriage proposals in literature. It's all about practicality, his position, Lady Catherine's advice. There's zero romance.
He lists his reasons logically, emphasizing how advantageous it would be for her and how it would secure her family's future by keeping Longbourn connected. He genuinely cannot conceive she would refuse.
But Elizabeth does refuse. Firmly. Politely at first, but absolutely unequivocally. She will not marry him.
Mr. Collins is utterly shocked. He literally cannot process her rejection, even arguing she must be playing coy, following female convention. Mrs. Bennet, when she finds out, is predictably dismayed and furious.
This chapter is a powerful showcase of Elizabeth's independence. She rejects a loveless marriage, even one that offers financial security, prioritizing her own feelings and integrity.
Remember, refusing a proposal, especially from the estate's heir, was a very risky move for a woman with no fortune in Regency England. It defied expectations.
Her choice echoes modern women rejecting societal pressures or traditional expectations, maybe choosing career over marriage or waiting for genuine partnership rather than settling. It's that assertion of agency.
Austen absolutely celebrates Elizabeth's strength and her challenge to the societal norms that often forced women into purely pragmatic unions.
Go, Elizabeth. If you're cheering for her too, hit like, subscribe, or share. Let's see the fallout in Chapter 20.
Chapter 20, Mrs. Bennet's reaction. The fallout is immediate and loud. Mrs. Bennet is beside herself with fury over Elizabeth's refusal.
She tries everything to pressure Elizabeth into changing her mind. She appeals to Mr. Bennet to force her.
But Mr. Bennet, in one of his best moments, sides with Elizabeth. He calls her into his study and humorously presents her dilemma. Your mother will never see you again if you do not marry Mr. Collins, and I will never see you again if you do.
It's brilliant. He supports her choice, valuing her happiness over the financial security Mrs. Bennet is obsessed with.
This chapter starkly contrasts those parental priorities. Mrs. Bennet, all about security, status, keeping the estate. Mr. Bennet, valuing his daughter's character and well-being, albeit in his detached way. It highlights the family tensions.
Parental pressure regarding marriage choices was immense back then, as families often saw daughters' matches as crucial for their collective stability and status.
We still see versions of this today, right? Family expectations about careers, partners, life choices, that pressure to conform to what the family thinks is best, even if it clashes with individual desires.
Austen captures that timeless conflict between individual happiness and family obligation perfectly.
And Mr. Bennet's support is crucial for Elizabeth here.
Definitely. Okay, hope you're finding this relatable. Let us know, like, subscribe, share. Now, for a surprising twist in Chapter 21.
Chapter 21, Charlotte's Engagement. Just as the dust settles from Elizabeth's refusal, Mr. Collins wastes no time. He shifts his focus.
And proposes to Elizabeth's close friend, Charlotte Lucas,
Yeah.
who is 27, considered plain, and has few prospects.
And Charlotte accepts him. Immediately.
Elizabeth is absolutely stunned. She cannot comprehend how her sensible, intelligent friend could agree to marry someone like Mr. Collins.
This chapter is pivotal for exploring those different views on marriage. Elizabeth's idealism crashes against Charlotte's stark realism. It's a powerful critique of the societal pressures that led women like Charlotte to make such choices.
Charlotte sees marriage to Collins not as romantic fulfillment, but as the best practical option available to her for securing a home and avoiding the undesirable fate of becoming an old maid dependent on her family.
It's a harsh reality. For many women then, marrying for stability wasn't cynical. It was a rational survival strategy. Spinsterhood often meant poverty and social marginalization.
You hear echoes of this in modern
I ask only a comfortable home. And considering Mr. Collins's character, connection, and situation in life, I am convinced that my chance of happiness with him is as fair as most people can boast on entering the marriage state. It's brutally honest.
The Bennets are surprised by the news, naturally, and Mrs. Bennet is furious all over again, blaming Elizabeth for letting Mr. Collins get away.
Austen uses this conversation to deepen the exploration of marriage motives. Charlotte's pragmatism is presented as a clear-eyed strategy for survival in a world with limited options for women. Elizabeth's struggle to accept it shows her own values, but maybe also a touch of naivety about the harsh realities others faced.
As we said, spinsterhood was heavily stigmatized. Charlotte is actively choosing security and independence, in a way, over potential destitution.
You can relate it to the complex choices modern women often face, balancing career ambitions, personal desires, family pressures, and practical considerations about financial security or starting a family.
Austen portrays the harsh realities behind marriage decisions with such nuance. It really enriches the novel's themes beyond just the central romance.
It adds a layer of social commentary that's incredibly powerful.
Absolutely. Okay, final chapter for Volume 1. If you've made it this far, thank you. Please like, subscribe, and share. Let's see how Volume I ends in Chapter 23.
Chapter 23, Bingley's Departure. Just as one marriage drama seems settled, however unsatisfyingly, another erupts. Mr. Bingley suddenly leaves Netherfield and returns to London.
Abruptly, with no explanation given to the Bennets and no farewell to Jane.
He's gone, and the implication is that he's not coming back soon, if ever. Jane is absolutely heartbroken, though she tries to hide it.
Elizabeth is furious. She immediately suspects foul play, believing that Darcy and Bingley's snobbish sisters have interfered, persuading the easily led Bingley that Jane isn't suitable or wasn't serious about him.
This introduces themes of betrayal, manipulation, and the power of outside influence. External forces, driven by class prejudice, directly sabotage Jane and Bingley's budding romance. Elizabeth's suspicions, though based on her prejudice, unfortunately, turn out to be somewhat accurate.
Class differences were a major obstacle in Regency romances. Wealthier families often actively discouraged matches they deemed unsuitable in terms of wealth or connections.
It's like family disapproval today, maybe due to differing backgrounds, education levels, or perceived social standing, putting pressure on a relationship and sometimes causing it to end. Darcy and the sisters are acting as gatekeepers here.
Austen shows how class prejudice and manipulation by others can tragically complicate love, setting up mysteries and conflicts that will need resolving later in the novel. It ends Volume 1 on a note of heartbreak and suspicion.
A powerful cliffhanger, really.
All right, welcome back, or welcome if you're just joining us. We're diving into Volume 2 of Pride and Prejudice. Things got pretty heavy at the end of Volume 1.
They certainly did. We start Volume 2, which is Chapter 24 in the continuous numbering, with Jane's heartbreak. Jane receives that dreaded letter from Miss Bingley in London.
And it's basically confirming Bingley isn't coming back, talking about how close he's getting to Darcy's sister, Georgiana. It dashes Jane's remaining hopes.
She's devastated, though she tries to put a brave face on it. Elizabeth is there to comfort her, fiercely loyal as always, and her anger at Darcy and the Bingley sisters solidifies even further. She's convinced they orchestrated this.
This chapter really explores Jane's quiet resilience, but also the strength of that sisterly bond. Elizabeth is her rock here.
Absolutely. And remember how important letters were. They were the primary means of communication, carrying huge emotional weight. Receiving bad news like this by letter without being able to see the person, it was harsh.
It feels a bit like modern ghosting, doesn't it? That sudden silence or impersonal breakup message via text after things seemed promising. Jane is essentially being ghosted by Bingley via his sister.
That's a really apt comparison. Austen shows how these external blows test emotional strength while highlighting the comfort found in close relationships, like between the sisters.
So important. Okay, hope you're settled in for Volume 2. If you are, give us a like, subscribe, or share. Let's meet some new sensible faces in Chapter 25.
Chapter 25, Volume 2, Chapter 2. The Gardiners arrive. A welcome change of pace. Elizabeth's aunt and uncle, the Gardiners, come to Longbourn for a visit.
And they are a breath of fresh air, aren't they? Sensible, intelligent, well-mannered, genuinely kind. A stark contrast to Mrs. Bennet.
Definitely. Mr. Gardiner is Mrs. Bennet's brother, but from a more educated professional background in London trade. Mrs. Gardiner is elegant and perceptive. Elizabeth is very close to them.
And she confides in her Aunt Gardiner, telling her about Jane's heartbreak and also sharing Wickham's story about Darcy.
Austen introduces the Gardiners as crucial figures. They provide rational, steadying guidance for Elizabeth, offering a more balanced perspective than she gets at home. They become key confidants.
Extended family often played important advisory roles back then, especially for young women, navigating the complexities of courtship and marriage prospects.
It's like having trusted mentors or supportive family members today, that wise aunt or older cousin or family friend you can turn to for grounded advice on relationships or big life decisions.
The Gardiners are definitely going to be important going forward. Austen introduces these wise figures who subtly influence Elizabeth's journey towards self-awareness.
They represent good sense and good breeding without the aristocratic airs.
Exactly. Glad to have them on the scene. If you are too, let us know. Like, subscribe, share. Things shift again in Chapter 26.
Chapter 26, 3, Wickham's shift. Remember charming Mr. Wickham? Well, his attention seems to be wandering.
Yes. He abruptly stops paying attention to Elizabeth and starts pursuing a Miss King, who has recently inherited a fortune of £10,000.
Interesting timing. This shift certainly disappoints Elizabeth, maybe even pricks her vanity a little. But more importantly, it plants the first real seed of doubt in her mind about his character.
Mrs. Gardiner, perceptive as ever, gently warns Elizabeth about Wickham, suggesting his affections might be driven by mercenary motives rather than genuine feeling. She advises caution.
This chapter clearly reveals Wickham's opportunism. His quick pivot to the newly wealthy Miss King strongly suggests his primary motivation is financial gain. It forces Elizabeth to start questioning her initial positive judgment of him.
Fortune hunting, as we've touched upon, was a real thing. Men without independent means, like Wickham, often actively sought advantageous marriages to secure their future.
It's the Regency equivalent of gold digging, isn't it? Pursuing a partner primarily for their wealth or status. Wickham's move is pretty transparent.
Austen uses this to expose the flaws in Elizabeth's initial, perhaps naive, trust. It's a necessary, if uncomfortable, step in her growth, pushing her to look beyond surface charm.
Meanwhile, Charlotte Lucas is preparing to leave Longbourn to begin her new life as Mrs. Collins. A very different path.
Indeed. Two very different trajectories. Okay, enjoying the character developments. Let us know with a like, subscribe, or share. Elizabeth goes on a trip in Chapter 27.
Chapter 27, 4. Elizabeth's trip. Opportunity knocks for Elizabeth. The Gardiners invite her to accompany them on a trip, and later she arranges to travel with Sir William Lucas and his daughter Maria to Kent, specifically to visit Charlotte and Mr. Collins.
A change of scenery. This trip takes her away from Longbourn and Meryton.
Austen often uses travel as a device to signal a shift in perspective. Getting away from her usual environment gives Elizabeth space to reflect more deeply on Jane's situation, her own confusing feelings about Wickham, and the recent events.
It also sets up new encounters and experiences that will be crucial to her development. Travel was a much bigger deal back then, wasn't it?
Absolutely. For a young woman like Elizabeth, it meant exposure to new social circles, different ways of life, and potential opportunities for growth or even romance. It wasn't just a vacation, it was significant.
It's like how a gap year or studying abroad can broaden horizons today. That experience of being outside your comfort zone often leads to personal growth.
Austen definitely uses physical journeys to mirror and often catalyze the emotional and intellectual journeys of her characters. This trip to Kent is going to be very important.
Can't wait to see what happens. If you're excited too, please like, subscribe, and share. Let's arrive with Elizabeth in Chapter 28.
Chapter 28:5, At Rosings. Elizabeth arrives at Hunsford Parsonage, the home of Mr. and Mrs. Collins, which is located near the grand estate of Rosings Park.
Rosings Park, the seat of the formidable Lady Catherine de Bourgh, Mr. Collins's patroness, the one he never stops talking about.
Indeed. And Elizabeth soon gets to experience Rosings and Lady Catherine firsthand. She observes Mr. Collins's utterly subservient, fawning behavior in the presence of his patroness.
And she meets Lady Catherine herself, who is exactly as advertised. Domineering, arrogant, obsessed with rank, and incredibly nosy.
Austen uses this setting and these characters to deliver more sharp social satire. Lady Catherine embodies aristocratic arrogance and entitlement, while Mr. Collins represents peak sycophancy. Elizabeth's independence stands out immediately in contrast.
Aristocrats, like Lady Catherine, wielded enormous social power and influence in their local areas. They expected deference and often dictated social dynamics.
You can certainly think of modern figures who command similar levels of influence and expect unquestioning agreement, whether it's powerful CEOs, political figures, or even certain celebrities. Lady Catherine's dominance feels familiar in that sense.
Austen isn't just creating a memorable villain. She's critiquing the entire class hierarchy and the way people enable it through blind obedience like Mr. Collins.
Elizabeth's reactions are going to be key here.
Definitely. Eager to see how she handles Lady Catherine. Us too. Like, subscribe, share. Let the interrogation begin in Chapter 29.
Chapter 29:6, Lady Catherine's interrogation. Elizabeth, along with the Collinses and Maria Lucas, is invited to dine at Rosings Park.
The main event. And Lady Catherine doesn't waste time. She subjects Elizabeth to a relentless barrage of questions about her family, her upbringing, her education, or lack thereof in Lady Catherine's view, her sister's accomplishments.
It's less a conversation, more an interrogation. Lady Catherine finds fault with practically everything, clearly judging Elizabeth and her family as inferior due to their lower status and connections.
But Elizabeth refuses to be intimidated. She answers honestly, directly, and with a quiet wit that often catches Lady Catherine off guard. She holds her own.
This scene powerfully showcases Elizabeth's resilience and strength of character. She stands up to condescension without being rude, but without backing down either. Her composure is remarkable.
These kinds of social interrogations where status and background were constantly assessed were common in high society back then. It was all about maintaining hierarchy.
It feels like some intense job interviews or maybe trying to get into an exclusive club or social circle today. That feeling of being scrutinized, judged, and needing to prove your worthiness.
Austen uses this encounter to highlight Elizabeth's defiance of elitism and snobbery. It's a key part of what makes her such an appealing and modern-feeling heroine. She won't bow down just because of rank.
And Lady Catherine is clearly not used to people standing up to her.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Loving Elizabeth's spirit gives a like, subscribe, or share. An unexpected arrival occurs in Chapter 30.
Chapter 37, Darcy at Rosings. Just as Elizabeth is settling into the routine of visiting Rosings and dealing with Lady Catherine, unexpected visitors arrive.
Visitors to Rosings. Who could it be?
None other than Lady Catherine's nephews, Colonel Fitzwilliam and Mr. Darcy.
Darcy? What's he doing there? Oh, right. Lady Catherine is his aunt.
Exactly. He and his cousin often visit her at Easter. Elizabeth is surprised to see him and perhaps a little unsettled.
And she starts noticing something. Darcy seems to be paying her quite a bit of attention. He visits the Hunsford Parsonage frequently, often sitting silently, just observing her.
His attention is awkward, sometimes confusing, but undeniable. It sparks Elizabeth's curiosity. Why is he seeking out her company, especially after their frosty encounters?
This chapter deepens Darcy's character again. We see him actively seeking Elizabeth out, suggesting his feelings haven't faded. His awkwardness shows his internal struggle.
Country estate visits, as we know, were prime opportunities for social interaction, courtship, and forging alliances. Darcy's presence here shifts the dynamic considerably.
It's like bumping into someone significant from another part of your life at a conference or a retreat. It creates a new context for interaction, often unexpected.
Austen is revealing more of Darcy's outer conflict, showing the pull towards Elizabeth beneath his proud exterior, making him more complex and human.
The plot definitely thickens. Intrigued? Like, subscribe, share. Let's tune into Chapter 31.
Chapter 31:8, Music and motives. The visits to Rosings continue, now with Darcy and Colonel Fitzwilliam present.
And there's an evening where Elizabeth is persuaded to play the piano.
Yes, and while she's playing, Darcy positions himself nearby, watching her intently. This leads to more of their characteristic, playful, almost challenging banter. He comments on her performance, she teases him about his unsociable behavior.
There's a definite spark in their exchanges, even if it's wrapped in wit and slight antagonism. Colonel Fitzwilliam also joins the conversation. He's much more easygoing and charming, providing a clear contrast to Darcy's reserve.
Austen uses this social setting, the drawing room, the piano performance, to deepen the connection, however complicated, between Elizabeth and Darcy. Colonel Fitzwilliam's friendly nature also adds complexity. He seems quite taken with Elizabeth, too.
Music, as we've noted, was a key accomplishment for women, a way to showcase their refinement and eligibility in social settings like this.
It's like a modern talent show or open mic night, maybe. A platform where people can connect through shared interests or by observing someone's skill and personality on display.
Austen just uses these everyday social rituals so brilliantly to reveal character nuances and subtly advance the romantic undercurrents.
And Darcy's fixed attention on Elizabeth while she plays is very telling.
Very. Okay, enjoying the Rosings drama? Let us know.
Yeah.
Like, subscribe, share. Chapter 32 brings a surprise visit.
Chapter 32, 9. Darcy's visit. Something quite unusual happens. Darcy pays a visit to the Hunsford parsonage when Elizabeth is there alone. Charlotte and Mr. Collins are out.
Alone. That's significant, right? Unchaperoned visits were a big deal.
A very big deal. Highly unconventional and usually signaled serious intentions. But Darcy's behavior during the visit is strange.
How so?
He seems awkward, struggles to make conversation, asks odd questions, and then sits in silence for long stretches. Elizabeth is completely puzzled by his behavior and his motives for visiting.
She has no idea what's going on in his head. He's clearly building up to something, but she can't figure out what.
This chapter masterfully builds suspense around Darcy's emotions. Austen shows us his internal struggle. The conflict between his powerful feelings and his ingrained pride is making him act erratically. Elizabeth's confusion just adds to the intrigue.
As we said, unchaperoned visits were rare and significant. His seeking her out alone clearly means something.
It's like getting a surprise one-on-one coffee invitation today from someone whose intentions you're unsure about. It carries weight. It signals something beyond casual acquaintance.
Austen shows how these subtle, awkward interactions can actually reveal deeper feelings and foreshadow major developments more effectively than grand pronouncements.
The tension is palpable.
Definitely building towards something. Keep following the story. Like, subscribe, share. Chapter 33 drops a bombshell.
Chapter 33, 10. Colonel Fitzwilliam's revelation. Elizabeth is walking in the park around Rosings and happens to encounter Colonel Fitzwilliam.
Darcy's cousin, a charming, friendly one.
Exactly. They fall into conversation, and Fitzwilliam talks about Darcy's character, mentioning how Darcy recently saved a close friend Bingley from an imprudent marriage.
Wait, save Bingley from Jane. He admits Darcy interfered.
Yes. Fitzwilliam, likely unaware of Elizabeth's connection to Jane, casually reveals that Darcy took credit for separating Bingley from a young lady he was attached to, boasting that he'd done his friend a great service by pointing out the unsuitability of the match and the family's objections.
Oh my God. This confirms Elizabeth's absolute worst suspicions about Darcy's arrogance and meddling. She is devastated for Jane and absolutely furious with Darcy.
This is a massive turning point. It escalates Elizabeth's prejudice against Darcy to its peak, providing concrete proof in her mind of his cruelty and interference. It sets the stage for the novel's central confrontation.
It also reveals Darcy's actions, which, from his perspective, were probably meant to protect his easily influenced friend, but were ultimately misguided and hurtful.
Men often held that kind of influence over friends' romantic choices back then, acting almost as guardians of family interest and status.
You still see friends influencing relationships today, right?
Yeah.
Warning someone off a partner, maybe even actively trying to break them up if they disapprove. It's Darcy's motivation, but the impact is brutal.
Austen shows how actions, even those perceived as well-intentioned by the actor, can cause profound harm and misunderstanding. Elizabeth now has fuel for her fire.
And just in time for the next chapter. Wow. Okay, intense stuff. If you're gripped, please like, subscribe, and share. Get ready for the big one in Chapter 34.
Chapter 34, 11, Darcy's proposal. The very same day Elizabeth learns about Darcy's interference with Jane and Bingley, Darcy seeks her out again at the parsonage. She is still reeling with anger.
And he chooses this moment.
He chooses this moment, after struggling internally for weeks, to declare his love for her and propose marriage.
No way. The timing is just wow.
But the proposal itself is a disaster. He confesses his passionate love, admitting he struggled against his judgment, her family's inferiority, his own rank, essentially insulting her even as he proposes. In vain I have struggled, it will not do, my feelings will not be repressed. You must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you.
It's incredibly arrogant. He emphasizes how much he's degrading himself by loving her.
Exactly. Elizabeth, already furious about Jane and Wickham, is now utterly incensed by the insulting manner of his proposal. She unleashes her anger and rejects him vehemently.
And she tells him exactly why. His role in ruining Jane's happiness, his cruelty toward Wickham, and his arrogant, ungentlemanly manner of proposing.
Darcy is stunned, shocked by the rejection, shocked by the accusations, especially regarding Wickham. This is the absolute climax of their conflict, Pride versus Prejudice head-to-head. The rejection marks a crucial turning point for both of them.
Proposals were formal, tied to status. Darcy's honesty about his internal struggle comes across as pure arrogance. Elizabeth's fierce rejection, prioritizing her feelings and her family's dignity over a good match, is incredibly powerful.
It resonates with modern rejections of partners who are condescending or toxic, right? That moment of standing up for your own worth, even if it means turning down something society might see as advantageous.
Austen forces this explosive confrontation to make both characters confront their flaws. It's brutal, but necessary for their eventual growth.
A truly iconic scene.
Absolutely unforgettable. Okay, reeling from that. So are we. Please like, subscribe, share. Let's see the media fallout in Chapter 35.
Chapter 35, 12. Darcy's letter. The morning after the disastrous proposal and rejection, Darcy finds Elizabeth walking in the grounds of Rosings Park again.
Oh, is he going to try again? Or apologize?
Neither, exactly. He intercepts her and, with a cold formality, hands her a letter asking her to read it before quickly departing.
A letter? What's in the letter?
Everything. Darcy has stayed up all night writing a detailed explanation in defense of his actions. He addresses Elizabeth's two main accusations.
Okay, first, his interference with Jane and Bingley.
He admits he persuaded Bingley away from Jane, but explains his motives. He genuinely believed Jane was indifferent to Bingley, due to her reserved nature, and he strongly objected to the impropriety and lack of decorum shown by the rest of her family, specifically mentioning Mrs. Bennet and the younger sisters. He felt he was protecting his friend from a potentially unhappy match and undesirable connections.
Still interfering, but maybe not purely out of snobbery. And Wickham.
This is the bombshell. Darcy reveals the true story of Wickham. Far from being cheated, Wickham received his inheritance, squandered it, tried to elope with Darcy's young sister Georgiana for her fortune, and is generally a deceitful, manipulative liar. Darcy provides details and evidence.
Whoa, that completely flips the script on Wickham.
Completely. Elizabeth reads the letter, initially skeptical, but as she rereads Darcy's account, considering Wickham's recent behavior, like chasing Miss King, she starts to realize the horrifying truth. She is shaken to her core.
Austen uses this letter brilliantly. It's the mechanism for unraveling all the misunderstandings. It directly challenges Elizabeth's deeply held beliefs and forces her to confront her own prejudice.
Letters were private, significant ways to convey difficult truths. This letter functions like a deposition, laying out the facts.
It's like receiving a long, detailed email or text today that completely reframes a situation you thought you understood, providing evidence you can't ignore.
Austen uses the power of truth, delivered directly, to begin dismantling Elizabeth's prejudice. It's the catalyst for her profound journey of self-awareness.
This changes everything. Mind blown. Ours too. Show your support. Like, subscribe, share. Let's see, Elizabeth processed this in Chapter 36.
Chapter 36:13, Elizabeth's reflection. Elizabeth is reeling after reading Darcy's letter. She walks for miles, rereading it, processing the shocking revelations.
She has to reevaluate everything she thought she knew, especially about Darcy and Wickham.
Exactly. She forces herself to objectively reconsider Wickham's behavior, his inconsistencies, his pursuit of Miss King. Then she thinks about Darcy, his pride, yes, but also the underlying truth in his assessment of her family's behavior. She compares the accounts.
And the truth is her. Wickham is deceitful. Darcy, while proud and interfering, was telling the truth, at least about Wickham, and possibly about his motives regarding Jane.
The realization brings intense shame. Till this moment, I never knew myself, she thinks. She recognizes her own blindness, her prejudice, how she willingly believed Wickham's charm and eagerly condemned Darcy based on assumptions and gossip.
This is the absolute turning point for Elizabeth's character arc. It's painful, humbling, but crucial. She confronts her own flaws head-on. The narrative shifts towards reconciliation, even if she doesn't realize it yet.
Self-reflection was a valued virtue, especially for women expected to embody moral sense. Elizabeth's rigorous self-examination is central to her development.
It's like that moment in modern self-help or therapy where you have a breakthrough, realizing your own part in a situation, confronting your biases. It's that kind of deep, often uncomfortable introspection.
Austen masterfully shows how self-awareness, born from confronting painful truths, completely transforms perspectives and allows for genuine growth. Elizabeth is fundamentally changed after this chapter.
A powerful moment of self-discovery. Okay, that wraps up Volume 2's major arc. If you're invested in Elizabeth's journey, please like, subscribe, and share. We'll be back after a short break to dive into Volume 3. And we're back. Welcome to the final stretch, Volume 3 of Pride and Prejudice. Elizabeth has had her world turned upside down by Darcy's letter.
Absolutely. We begin Volume 3, Chapter 37, or Chapter 1 of Volume 3 in older editions, with Leaving Rosings. Elizabeth's visit to Kent is coming to an end. She and Maria Lucas prepare to leave Hunsford.
She has one last awkward dinner at Rosings Park. Lady Catherine is still domineering, still offering unsolicited advice.
Elizabeth is polite but reflective, still processing everything she learned from Darcy's letter. Darcy himself is also leaving Rosings around the same time, and their final interactions are brief and perhaps a little strained.
Austen uses this departure as more than just a plot point. It signals Elizabeth's internal shift. She's leaving Rosings physically, but she's also leaving behind some of her old certainties and prejudices. It bridges her recent growth with the challenges awaiting her back home.
Leaving an estate after a significant visit, as we've said, often marked a transition. Relationships might have shifted, perspectives changed. It feels like a closing chapter before a new one begins.
It's like leaving a job or moving cities today. Those moments of transition often prompt reflection on where you've been and where you're headed.
Austen subtly links these physical and emotional transitions throughout the novel. Elizabeth is heading home, but she's not the same person who left.
Definitely not. Ready to see how she navigates things back home? Like, subscribe, share. Let's return to Longbourn in Chapter 38.
Chapter 38. Return to Longbourn. Elizabeth arrives back home. She finds Jane still suffering quietly from Bingley's absence, though trying to appear cheerful.
And what about the younger sisters? Has anything changed there?
Not a bit. Kitty and Lydia are completely obsessed because the militia regiment is preparing to leave Meryton and relocate to Brighton for the summer.
Brighton, the fashionable seaside resort. Lydia is desperate to go too, begging her father to let the family spend the summer there.
This immediately reintroduces the familiar Bennet family dynamics, but now with the added ominous foreshadowing of Lydia's recklessness focused on Brighton. Elizabeth's newfound maturity and awareness starkly contrast with her sister's continued immaturity and obsession with officers.
The militia moving was a real aspect of life during the Napoleonic Wars. And Brighton, while fashionable, had a reputation for being a place where morals could be looser, a tempting destination for someone like Lydia.
It's like modern teens being obsessed with following a band on tour, or desperate to go to a huge, unsupervised festival or spring break destination known for partying. It screams potential trouble.
Austen expertly contrasts Elizabeth's growth with Lydia's dangerous impulsiveness, setting the stage for the novel's next major crisis.
You can feel the storm clouds gathering.
Definitely. Feeling the tension. Let us know. Like, subscribe, share. Chapter 39 focuses on Lydia's plans.
Chapter 39.
3. Lydia's plans. Elizabeth and Jane join their younger sisters on a visit to Meryton to say goodbye to the officers' wives. Kitty and Lydia are giddy with excitement and gossip. And then, the news drops. Lydia has secured an invitation to go to Brighton for the summer.
Yes, she's invited by the wife of Colonel Forster, the regiment's commanding officer. Mrs. Forster is young and rather giddy herself, and sees no harm in taking Lydia along.
Elizabeth is horrified. She knows Lydia's lack of self-control and judgment, especially around Wickham, who will also be in Brighton. She strongly advises her father against letting Lydia go, warning him of the potential danger to Lydia's reputation.
But Mr. Bennet, in his usual detached way, dismisses Elizabeth's concerns, thinking Lydia will be safe enough and that exposure to Brighton might show her own insignificance. He allows her to go.
Oh, Mr. Bennet, this decision is crucial. It directly enables the coming disaster. Austen uses Lydia's recklessness and Mr. Bennet's negligence to foreshadow the danger. Elizabeth's concern shows her growth and foresight.
Brighton, as we noted, was fashionable, but seen as risky, a place where reputations could be easily compromised, especially for young, unsupervised women.
Think about those modern party destinations. Again, Vegas, Cancun during spring break, places associated with impulsive behavior and potential regrets. Lydia is heading straight into the danger zone. Austen is powerfully showing how youthful folly, combined with parental neglect, poses a serious threat to the entire family's stability and reputation.
It's a critical failure of judgment by Mr. Bennet.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Okay, worried for Lydia. Us too. Like, subscribe, share. Elizabeth confides in Jane in Chapter 40.
Chapter 44. Elizabeth confides. Before Lydia departs, and before Elizabeth leaves on her own trip with the Gardners, she decides she needs to talk to Jane.
About Darcy, she tells Jane everything.
Almost everything. She tells Jane about Darcy's surprise proposal at Hunsford, and she shares the key information from his letter, specifically the truth about Wickham's deceitful character.
Wow, that's huge. Does she tell Jane about Darcy's role in separating her and Bingley?
No, she deliberately omits that part, not wanting to cause Jane further pain or raise false hopes. Jane is shocked by the revelations about both Darcy's proposal and Wickham's true nature, but she believes Elizabeth and offers her sisterly support.
This deepens their bond even further, showing Elizabeth's trust in Jane and her consideration for Jane's feelings. It also reinforces Elizabeth's own processing and acceptance of the truth revealed in Darcy's letter.
Sisterly confidences, as we've seen, were vital. They relied on each other for support and validation in a world that often constrained them.
It's like having that one sibling or best friend you can tell almost anything to today, knowing they'll understand and support you. That safe space is crucial. Austen highlights the power of trust and intimacy in these close female relationships, contrasting it with the dysfunction elsewhere in the family.
It's a lovely moment of connection before things get chaotic again.
Very true. If you value sisterly bonds, show some love. Like, subscribe, share. Lydia departs in Chapter 41.
Chapter 41-5. Lydia's departure. The moment Elizabeth dreaded arrives. Lydia leaves for Brighton with Colonel and Mrs. Forster.
She's ecstatic, completely oblivious to Elizabeth's warnings or the potential dangers, especially concerning Wickham. She clearly has a crush on.
Elizabeth tried to warn her father, tried perhaps subtly to warn Lydia, but her efforts were ignored. Lydia heads off into a situation Elizabeth fears will end badly.
Meanwhile, Elizabeth herself prepares for a much more sensible trip, a tour of the Peak District in Derbyshire with her wise aunt and Uncle Gardner.
This chapter escalates the threat of scandal. Lydia is now unsupervised in a risky environment with a known cad like Wickham. Elizabeth's maturity and foresight are starkly contrasted with Lydia's utter recklessness.
Elopements or scandals involving soldiers were a parent's nightmare in Regency England. They could ruin not just the young woman involved, but the entire family's reputation and marriage prospects for the other daughters.
It's like the modern fear of a young person running off with an unsuitable or dangerous partner, ignoring all warnings, and potentially derailing their future. The stakes feel very real.
Austen is setting up the inevitable consequences of unchecked folly and poor parenting. You just know something bad is going to happen with Lydia in Brighton.
It feels inevitable, doesn't it?
Totally. Okay, holding your breath. Us too. Like, subscribe, share. Let's follow Elizabeth on her travels in Chapter 42.
Chapter 42. 6. The Gardner's Trip. Elizabeth is now traveling through Derbyshire with her aunt and uncle. It's a pleasant change of pace.
Getting away from Longbourn drama, what do they see?
They tour the beautiful scenery of the Peak District. During the trip, Elizabeth continues to reflect on her family's flaws, Darcy's letter, and her own transformed feelings. The conversation with the Gardners is sensible and pleasant.
And then their route takes them near a very famous estate.
Yes. They find themselves near Pemberley, Mr. Darcy's ancestral home. The Gardners express a desire to see it, as it's renowned for its beauty.
Elizabeth is initially hesitant, horrified at the thought of potentially bumping into Darcy there. But she checks first and learns that the family is not currently at home.
Reassured, she agrees to the visit, unaware, of course, of the surprise awaiting her.
Austen uses this journey again to deepen Elizabeth's growth. The tour provides perspective, and the decision to visit Pemberley, Darcy's home territory, sets up a pivotal, transformative encounter. Pemberley itself becomes symbolic of Darcy's true character.
Estate tours were common, driven by curiosity about the lives of the wealthy and the beauty of their properties. It wasn't considered unusual.
Like modern tourism to grand historic houses or even celebrity homes today, it satisfies a curiosity about how others live, especially the influential. Austen masterfully links the setting, the grandeur and tastefulness of Pemberley, to Darcy's character development and Elizabeth's shifting perception of him. The visit is hugely significant.
It's the turning point of the entire novel, arguably.
Agreed. Can't wait to get inside Pemberley. If you're ready to, please like, subscribe, and share. Chapter 43 is the big one.
Chapter 43-7. Pemberley's Charm. Elizabeth, along with the Gardiners, tours Pemberley, and she is absolutely captivated.
By the house, the grounds.
Both. The estate is magnificent, not ostentatious, but elegant, tasteful, beautifully situated. It reflects wealth and status, but also good taste and a connection to nature. It impresses her deeply.
But it's not just the place, is it? They get a tour from the housekeeper.
Yes, Mrs. Reynolds, and she speaks of Mr. Darcy with genuine warmth and affection. She praises his kindness as a master, his generosity, his devotion to his sister, painting a picture utterly different from the proud, arrogant man Elizabeth thought she knew.
Elizabeth is stunned, listening to this heartfelt praise from someone who has known Darcy his whole life. It directly contradicts Wickham's narrative and her own prejudices.
And then, as they're walking the grounds, Mr. Darcy himself unexpectedly appears. He has returned home a day earlier than planned.
Oh my God. Awkward. What happens?
It's incredibly awkward for both of them. But Darcy, instead of being cold or proud, is astonishingly civil, even welcoming. He speaks kindly to Elizabeth, asks after her family, and treats the Gardiners, who are in trade, remember, with remarkable courtesy.
This is huge. His behavior is completely different from Hunsford.
Completely. This encounter is transformative for Elizabeth. Pemberley itself reveals Darcy's taste and standing. The housekeeper reveals his true character as a master and brother, and his own behavior reveals a profound change in demeanor. It shatters her remaining prejudice.
Estates reflected their owners. Pemberley symbolizes Darcy's inherent worth, obscured previously by his pride.
It's like visiting someone's home today and seeing curated art, well-tended gardens, or happy staff. It reveals aspects of their personality you wouldn't otherwise see.
Austen uses the setting, the testimony of others, and Darcy's changed behavior in perfect concert to reshape Elizabeth's perception. It's the turning point where dislike begins to turn into something else entirely.
A masterful chapter.
Absolutely breathtaking. Okay, still processing that. Us too. Like, subscribe, share. Let's see how this continues in Chapter 44.
Chapter 44, 8. Darcy's kindness. The day after the unexpected encounter at Pemberley, Darcy does something even more surprising. He visits Elizabeth and the Gardiners at their inn.
He seeks them out voluntarily.
Yes, and he brings his sister, Georgiana, with him, expressing a desire for her to meet Elizabeth. He also invites Elizabeth and the Gardiners to dine at Pemberley.
Meeting this sister, that's a significant step. How is Georgiana?
She's very shy, not the proud, arrogant girl Elizabeth might have expected or Miss Bingley described. She's sweet and clearly adores her brother. Darcy's affectionate, protective manner towards Georgiana further humanizes him in Elizabeth's eyes.
And Bingley shows up too. He joins Darcy on the visit, and he's clearly happy to see Elizabeth and asks eagerly about Jane.
Darcy's behavior throughout is remarkably changed, humble, attentive, kind. He treats the Gardiners with genuine respect. Elizabeth witnesses this transformation firsthand, and her opinion of him softens dramatically. She starts to feel gratitude, admiration, perhaps even regret.
Introducing family, especially a cherished sister like Georgiana, was a huge gesture of trust and esteem in Regency society. It signaled a desire for real connection.
It's like meeting a partner's family today. It often signifies a deepening commitment and allows you to see a different side of them.
Austen shows how Darcy's genuine kindness, his changed demeanor, and his respect for her and her family are powerfully dismantling Elizabeth's remaining prejudice. Attraction is definitely blooming now.
The path to reconciliation is opening up.
It really is. Loving Darcy's turnaround. Let us know. Like, subscribe, share. But old tensions resurface in Chapter 45.
Chapter 45-9. Social tensions. Elizabeth and Mrs. Gardiner pay a return visit to Pemberley to see Miss Darcy.
So they go to the grand house again. Who else is there?
Unfortunately, Miss Bingley and Mrs. Hurst are also there visiting Georgiana, and Miss Bingley has not changed one bit.
Uh-oh. Still jealous, still snarky.
Absolutely. Seeing Darcy's continued attention to Elizabeth, Miss Bingley tries subtly and not so subtly to undermine her. She brings up Wickham and the malicious presence in Meryton, trying to embarrass Elizabeth in front of Darcy and Georgiana.
How does Elizabeth handle it? And Darcy?
Elizabeth handles it with composure. Darcy looks displeased with Miss Bingley's remarks, but remains courteous to Elizabeth. His steadfastness, despite Miss Bingley's cattiness, further highlights his growth and commitment. Elizabeth observes all this, admiring his change while noting Miss Bingley's persistent jealousy.
This chapter reinforces Darcy's transformation and Elizabeth's evolving feelings. Miss Bingley's behavior serves as a reminder of the past conflicts and the social obstacles Darcy's now overcoming for Elizabeth's sake.
Social rivalries, especially among women competing for status or a desirable match, were intense. Miss Bingley sees Elizabeth as a serious rival.
It's like those passive-aggressive comments or subtle digs you sometimes see in modern social media rivalries, maybe on X or Instagram threads, that attempt to score points or undermine someone publicly.
Austen shows how Darcy's growth allows him to rise above that kind of pettiness, while Miss Bingley remains stuck in her old ways. Elizabeth clearly sees the difference.
Darcy's winning her over. Okay, enjoying the Pemberley developments. Like, subscribe, share. But disaster strikes in Chapter 46.
Chapter 46:10. Lydia's elopement. Just as things are looking hopeful between Elizabeth and Darcy, Elizabeth receives 2 urgent letters from Jane.
Urgent letters. What's happened? Oh no. It's Lydia, isn't it?
Yes, the worst has happened. Lydia has eloped from Brighton with Mr. Wickham. They've run off together, destination unknown.
Eloped. With Wickham. This is catastrophic for the family's reputation. Are they married?
That's the terrifying uncertainty. Jane's letters indicate they likely haven't married, and the fear is that Wickham has no intention of marrying Lydia, merely using her and planning to abandon her, leaving her ruined and the family disgraced.
Oh my God. Elizabeth is devastated, horrified, blaming herself for not exposing Wickham sooner. And just as she receives this news, Darcy walks in.
Yes, Darcy arrives at the inn just as Elizabeth is absorbing the terrible news. Distraught, she blurts out what has happened, confiding the whole disastrous situation to him.
How does Darcy react?
He is shocked, concerned, and crucially compassionate. He expresses sympathy and seems genuinely troubled, even blaming himself for not exposing Wickham's character publicly earlier. His reaction is purely supportive.
This crisis is a huge test. Elizabeth turning to Darcy instinctively in her distress marks a massive shift in their relationship. She trusts him.
Elopements, especially if the couple didn't marry, could absolutely destroy a family's reputation and social standing, affecting the marriage prospects of all the other daughters. It was a nightmare scenario.
It's like a major modern scandal hitting a family today, a viral personal misstep, a public arrest. The shame and reputational damage can be immense and lasting. Austen uses this personal crisis to solidify the bond between Elizabeth and Darcy. His supportive reaction contrasts sharply with his past arrogance, proving his transformation. This shared crisis connects them deeply.
But Elizabeth assumes this disgrace means any hope of a future with Darcy is now impossible.
A terrible blow, right when things were looking up. Okay, deep breath. If you're on the edge of your seat, please like, subscribe, and share. Let the search begin in Chapter 47.
Chapter 47. The search for Lydia. Elizabeth immediately leaves Derbyshire with the Gardiners, heading back towards Longbourn.
She has to go home, face the family, deal with this crisis.
Yes, she returns to a house in turmoil. Mrs. Bennet is hysterical, blaming everyone but Lydia. Mr. Bennet has gone to London to search for Lydia and Wickham, realizing the gravity of his earlier negligence.
The whole family is in panic mode, trying to manage the situation and prevent the news from spreading too widely. Elizabeth feels the weight of the potential disgrace keenly.
This chapter explores the family dysfunction laid bare by the crisis and the devastating consequences of Mr. Bennet's neglect and Lydia's folly. Elizabeth's worry and her attempts to maintain composure reflect her maturity.
Elopements required urgent action. Families would scramble to locate the couple, often trying to force a marriage to salvage at least some semblance of respectability. It often involved male relatives intervening directly.
Think about modern family interventions trying to help a relative dealing with addiction, debt, or a dangerous relationship. That desperate scramble to contain the damage and find a solution echoes the Bennets' frantic efforts.
Austen shows the devastating ripple effects of scandal, how one person's reckless actions impact everyone around them, tearing at the family fabric.
And the uncertainty is agonizing for them.
Truly. Okay, hoping for a resolution. Let us know. Like, subscribe, share. Chapter 48 reveals more bad news.
Chapter 48:12. Wickham's motives. News arrives from London via Mr. Gardiner, who has joined Mr. Bennet in the search.
Do they find them? Is there any news?
They haven't found them yet, but they have learned more about Wickham's situation. He has left significant debts behind him, both gambling debts and debts to tradesmen.
So he's financially desperate. Does it seem like he intends to marry Lydia?
All indications are that he has absolutely no intention of marrying her. His motive seems purely selfish. Perhaps he was fleeing his debts and Lydia was a convenient distraction. Or maybe he has even darker intentions. The crisis deepens.
This confirms Wickham's utterly irredeemable character. He's not just charmingly roguish, he's actively malicious and destructive. The stakes for Lydia and the Bennet family are now incredibly high.
Unmarried cohabitation after an elopement was deeply scandalous, carrying severe social consequences. It threatened the entire family's standing.
It's like the difference between a messy breakup and a full-blown public scandal involving deceit and exploitation today. The level of reputational damage is far greater. Austen fully exposes the consequences of trusting the wrong person and the devastating impact of unchecked vice. The Bennets are facing ruin.
Hope seems very slim at this point.
It really does. Okay, can it get any worse? Stick with us. Like, subscribe, share. Let's see if rescue comes in Chapter 49.
Chapter 49:13. Lydia's rescue. Just when things seem utterly hopeless, a letter arrives from Mr. Gardiner.
Good news. Please let it be good news.
Relatively good news. He has found Lydia and Wickham, and crucially, Wickham has agreed to marry Lydia.
He agreed. Why? What changed his mind?
Mr. Gardiner writes that Wickham's debts will be settled, and he will receive a small sum of money to purchase a commission in a different regiment far away. The marriage is conditional on these financial arrangements. Mr. Bennet assumes Mr. Gardiner must be paying a hefty sum out of his own pocket.
So they're getting married. The family is saved from the worst of the disgrace, but it comes at a cost, literally. They are relieved, but also deeply humiliated by the situation and the forced nature of the marriage.
This chapter resolves the immediate crisis, but Austen highlights the lingering shame. The marriage is a salvage operation, not a celebration, and the question of who actually provided the money hangs in the air, adding intrigue. Mr. Bennet feels indebted to his brother-in-law.
Marriages were often arranged, sometimes hastily, to save face after a scandal. Financial incentives were sometimes involved to make an undesirable match happen quickly and quietly.
Think about modern crisis interventions. Maybe a family bailing out a relative financially to prevent bankruptcy or legal trouble. It's that effort to mitigate disaster and restore some stability, even if the underlying issues remain.
Austen shows that compromises can salvage a situation, but don't erase the scandal or the poor choices that led to it. The Bennets are scarred by this.
But saved from utter ruin thanks to someone's intervention.
True. Okay, relieved, but still uneasy. Us too. Like, subscribe, share. Let's deal with the aftermath in Chapter 50.
Chapter 14. Aftermath. Plans are made for Lydia and Wickham's wedding. Mrs. Bennet, incredibly, becomes overjoyed at having a daughter married, conveniently forgetting the scandalous circumstances.
Oh, Mrs. Bennet, never change. The family prepares for the newlyweds to visit Longbourn before they depart for Wickham's new posting in the north.
Elizabeth, however, is not celebrating. She feels the shame of the connection keenly, but she's also deeply thoughtful about the resolution, especially the money involved. She suspects Mr. Gardiner couldn't have afforded it all himself. Her thoughts turn increasingly towards Darcy. Could he have been involved?
Austen explores the fallout. The relief is mixed with shame and apprehension about Lydia and Wickham's future. Elizabeth's growing suspicion and admiration for Darcy set the stage for the final romantic resolution.
Forced marriages, arranged to restore respectability, were a known feature of the era. The family now has to integrate this reality.
It's like modern reputation management. After a scandal, the official story is presented. Things are smoothed over, but the underlying reality is often more complex and less palatable. Think PR campaigns versus reality. Austen shows how Darcy's suspected act of kindness, even if hidden, is powerfully reshaping Elizabeth's feelings and paving the way for their reconciliation.
Her gratitude and admiration are growing daily.
Big time. Okay, ready for Lydia's return? Us neither, but here we go. Like, subscribe, share. Chapter 51 awaits.
Chapter 51:15. Lydia's return. The happy couple, Lydia and Wickham, arrive at Longbourn for their pre-departure visit.
How does Lydia behave? Is she remorseful? Aware of the trouble she caused?
Not in the slightest. Lydia is completely unchanged, loud, boastful, utterly oblivious to the scandal and the immense stress she put her family through. She brags about being married before her older sisters.
Unbelievable. And Wickham?
Wickham acts charming and at ease, as if nothing untoward happened. Their combined lack of shame exasperates Elizabeth.
But then Lydia lets something slip, doesn't she? In her careless chatter.
Yes. While boasting about her wedding, Lydia accidentally mentions that Mr. Darcy was present at the ceremony.
Darcy. At Lydia and Wickham's wedding. Why would he be there? Elizabeth is stunned.
This accidental revelation is huge. It confirms Elizabeth's suspicions. Why else would Darcy attend the wedding of the man he despises, marrying the sister of the woman he loves, unless he was intrinsically involved in making it happen?
Austen brilliantly contrasts Lydia's ignorance with Elizabeth's dawning insight. Lydia's slip-up confirms Darcy's quiet, profound goodness and selflessness. It solidifies Elizabeth's feelings.
Newlyweds visiting family was standard, but Lydia's behavior is anything but proper. Her obliviousness is almost pathological.
It's like someone today being completely tone-deaf to the fallout of their actions online, bragging or posting inappropriately while everyone else is dealing with the consequences.
Austen uses this accidental revelation to unveil Darcy's hidden sacrifice, pushing Elizabeth's heart firmly towards love and gratitude.
The final pieces are clicking into place for her. Okay, mind racing. Ours too. Like, subscribe, share. Let's get confirmation in Chapter 52.
Chapter 52:16. Darcy's role. Elizabeth is desperate for the full story. She writes to her Aunt Gardner, asking for details about Darcy's involvement.
And Mrs. Gardner writes back quickly.
Yes, Mrs. Gardner replies, confirming everything. Darcy had tracked down Lydia and Wickham himself. He then negotiated with Wickham, paying off his substantial debts and providing the money for his commission and Lydia's support, all on the condition that Wickham marry her immediately.
He did all that. Secretly. Why?
Mrs. Gardner explains that Darcy claimed he felt responsible, as he hadn't exposed Wickham's character sooner, but she strongly implies, and Elizabeth understands, that his primary motivation was his deep, abiding love for Elizabeth. He wanted to shield her and her family from ruin.
Elizabeth is completely overwhelmed. Gratitude, admiration, regret for her past treatment of him, and now, undeniably, love.
This chapter reveals the full extent of Darcy's transformation and selfless love. His actions speak louder than any words. Elizabeth's emotional journey culminates here. Her prejudice is gone, replaced by love born from respect and gratitude.
Secret financial deals to resolve scandals were sometimes necessary, but Darcy's personal involvement and motivation elevate this far beyond mere practicality.
Think about those incredibly generous, anonymous acts of kindness we sometimes hear about today, someone paying off hospital bills or funding a community project without seeking recognition. Darcy's actions have that same selfless quality.
Austen shows how sacrifice and genuine kindness can redeem past mistakes and form the bedrock of true love. Darcy has proven his worth beyond doubt.
Elizabeth now knows where her heart lies.
Absolutely. Okay, deeply moved. Us too. Like, subscribe, share. Hope returns in Chapter 53.
Chapter 53:17. Bingley returns. Just as Lydia and Wickham depart for the north, creating a sense of weary relief at Longbourn, another visitor arrives.
Who is it this time? Please be someone good.
It's Mr. Bingley. He returns to Netherfield, apparently just for some shooting, but he soon pays a visit to Longbourn.
Bingley's back. Does he come alone?
No, he brings Mr. Darcy with him.
Darcy, back at Longbourn. How does he act? How does Elizabeth react?
Darcy is quieter, more reserved than he was in Derbyshire, perhaps unsure of his reception, but he is notably kind and civil. Elizabeth is flustered but hopeful. Bingley, meanwhile, seems awkward around Jane initially, but clearly still interested.
This chapter rekindles the Jane and Bingley romance, offering hope for a happy resolution there. And Darcy's presence, his willingness to return to Longbourn and face the Bennet family again, signals hope for Elizabeth too. The anticipation builds.
Returning to an estate and resuming visits after a long absence was a significant signal of renewed intentions in Regency society. Bingley's return means something.
It's like reconnecting with an ex after some time apart, isn't it? That tentative first meeting, testing the waters, seeing if the old feelings are still there.
Austen shows how second chances, perhaps prompted by Darcy's encouragement this time, can heal past hurts and reopen doors to happiness. The stage is set for resolutions.
Finally. Okay, feeling hopeful. Let us know. Like, subscribe, share. Let's see how things develop in Chapter 54.
Chapter 54:18. Renewed hopes. Bingley and Darcy become frequent visitors at Longbourn again. They dine with the Bennets.
How are things between Bingley and Jane? Is the spark back?
Definitely. Bingley clearly directs most of his attention to Jane. He seems completely smitten all over again, his earlier doubts apparently gone. Mrs. Bennet is, of course, thrilled.
And what about Elizabeth and Darcy? How are they interacting?
Their interactions are more subtle. Elizabeth keenly observes Darcy, sensing his continued affection, but still uncertain of his intentions after everything that has happened with Lydia. He is attentive, respectful, but perhaps holding back. She grapples with her own strong feelings, now a mix of love, gratitude, and anxiety.
This chapter advances both romances. Jane and Bingley are clearly heading towards engagement. Elizabeth and Darcy's situation is more complex, filled with unspoken emotions and uncertainty.
Dinners and social visits were key arenas for courtship. Observing how couples interacted, who sat next to whom, who talked to whom, it all signaled the progress of a relationship.
Like modern dating milestones, right?
Yeah.
Meeting the parents, going on a weekend trip, having the talk. These interactions signal deepening bonds. Austen uses these subtle social cues masterfully.
The atmosphere is charged with anticipation.
Totally. Can't wait to see what happens next. If you feel the same, please like, subscribe, and share. Chapter 55 brings a proposal.
Chapter 55, 19. Bingley's proposal. Bingley comes to Longbourn seemingly determined after a couple of false starts where they're interrupted.
He finally gets Jane alone. Does he do it?
Yes. Bingley proposes to Jane, and she joyfully accepts him. The family is absolutely delighted. Even Mr. Bennet expresses quiet satisfaction.
Yay. Finally, Jane gets her happy ending. Elizabeth must be thrilled for her.
She is overjoyed for Jane. But Jane's happiness also throws her own uncertain situation with Darcy into sharper relief. She's happy for her sister, but anxious about her own future and Darcy's intentions.
This chapter resolves Jane's romantic arc beautifully, providing a moment of pure joy. It contrasts perfectly with Elizabeth's ongoing suspense.
Engagements were formal affairs, requiring parental consent, which Bingley readily seeks from Mr. Bennet, and usually followed by public announcements and celebrations.
It's like seeing engagement announcements all over social media today that shared public joy when a couple decides to commit. It echoes the excitement surrounding Jane and Bingley. Austen delivers on the promise of Jane's gentle love story, triumphing over obstacles, while expertly using it to heighten the tension around Elizabeth's own fate.
One down, one to go.
Exactly. Thrilled for Jane. Let us know. Like, subscribe, share. But wait, who's that arriving in Chapter 56?
Chapter 56-20. Lady Catherine's visit. Just as things seem to be settling into happy engagements, an unexpected and very unwelcome visitor arrives at Longbourn.
Unwelcome? Oh no, don't tell me.
Yes, it's Lady Catherine de Bourgh, in person, having traveled all the way from Kent.
Lady Catherine. At Longbourn. Why on earth is she there?
She has heard a rumor, a most alarming rumor, that her nephew, Mr. Darcy, is engaged to marry Elizabeth Bennet. She has come to demand that Elizabeth deny it and promise never to enter into such an engagement.
She came all that way to forbid it. The audacity.
Completely. She confronts Elizabeth, insults her family and connections, and insists that Darcy is intended for her own daughter, Anne de Bourgh. She demands Elizabeth refuse him if he ever proposes.
How does Elizabeth react to this onslaught? Does she back down?
Absolutely not. Elizabeth refuses to be intimidated or bullied. She asserts her independence, refuses to make any such promise, and argues that she is Darcy's social equal as a gentleman's daughter. She essentially shows Lady Catherine the door, politely but firmly.
Yes. Go, Elizabeth. This confrontation is amazing. It showcases her strength, her defiance of class prejudice, and her refusal to be dictated to. And ironically, Lady Catherine's interference actually gives Elizabeth hope.
Exactly. If the rumor is strong enough for Lady Catherine to intervene so dramatically, it suggests Darcy's intentions might indeed be serious.
Aristocratic interference in marriages, trying to preserve bloodlines and status, was a real thing. Lady Catherine embodies that, entitled arrogance.
You see echoes in modern families who object strongly to partners based on background, religion, or perceived status, trying to exert control over relationship choices.
Austen uses this dramatic confrontation to let Elizabeth definitively reject elitism and assert her own worth, paving the way for Darcy's return.
Lady Catherine accidentally does Elizabeth a huge favor.
Totally. What a scene. If you loved Elizabeth's defiance, hit like, subscribe, or share. Let's see the fallout in Chapter 57.
Chapter 57-21. Rumors and Revelations. The morning after Lady Catherine's explosive visit, Mr. Bennet receives a letter from Mr. Collins.
From Mr. Collins. What does he want?
He writes to congratulate them on Jane's engagement, but also mentions the rumored engagement between Elizabeth and Darcy, strongly advising against it due to Lady Catherine's disapproval. He essentially warns them off.
Mr. Collins, echoing Lady Catherine, naturally. How does Mr. Bennet react?
Mr. Bennet finds the whole thing incredibly amusing. He calls Elizabeth in and playfully teases her about Darcy, congratulating her on apparently attracting the hatred of both Mr. Collins and Lady Catherine. He clearly doesn't believe the rumor is true.
Elizabeth is flustered by his teasing, trying to laugh it off, but internally her hope is growing. Lady Catherine's visit, followed by Mr. Collins's letter, strongly suggests Darcy's feelings haven't changed. The rumors are fueling her anticipation.
Austen uses these rumors and external reactions to push Elizabeth towards emotional clarity. The buzz around the potential engagement forces her to confront the real possibility and her own feelings about it.
Gossip about engagements was rampant, shaping perceptions and fueling speculation, just like today with celebrity relationship rumors on X or in tabloids.
Austen uses this gossip not just as background noise, but as a catalyst, propelling Elizabeth towards the final resolution and building the romantic suspense to its peak.
The anticipation is killing me. Ready for the grand finale? Like, subscribe, share. Here it comes in Chapter 58.
Chapter 58-22. Darcy's second proposal. Darcy returns to Longbourn, walking with Bingley. He and Elizabeth soon find themselves walking together, alone.
This is it. The moment. What happens?
Elizabeth takes the opportunity to thank Darcy for his incredible kindness to Lydia, expressing her deep gratitude. Darcy confesses that he did it for her. He then admits his feelings for her are unchanged, but asks if her feelings are still the same as they were when he proposed at Hunsford.
He's giving her an opening. How does she respond?
Elizabeth, overcoming her initial embarrassment, assures him that her feelings are now so materially changed since then, changed towards gratitude, respect, and love. Darcy is overjoyed. He confesses his love again, this time with genuine humility, acknowledging his past arrogance.
And she accepts him, finally, after everything.
Yes. They talk openly about their past misunderstandings, his pride, her prejudice, how they both had to grow and change. It's a beautiful, mutual acknowledgement of their journey.
This is the perfect resolution to this central romance. It shows profound mutual growth. Darcy's humility, Elizabeth's self-awareness, they complete each other's arcs.
Second proposals were rare, highlighting Darcy's persistence and the depth of his transformation. His willingness to propose again, knowing her previous reasons for rejection, shows true change.
It's like modern couples who reconcile after significant personal growth, maybe renewing vows with a deeper understanding. It's love earned through change.
Austen masterfully shows how love conquers pride and prejudice, not through magic, but through mutual transformation and understanding.
Just perfect. Utterly satisfying. Okay, wiping away a tear. Us too. Like, subscribe, share. Let's see the family reactions in Chapter 59.
Chapter 59:23. Family reactions. The evening after their walk and mutual declarations, Elizabeth tells Jane the incredible news. She is engaged to Mr. Darcy.
How does Jane react? She must be shocked.
Jane is utterly astonished, initially disbelieving given Elizabeth's long-held dislike of Darcy. But Elizabeth assures her of her genuine love and Darcy's goodness, explaining his role in Lydia's marriage. Jane is then overjoyed for her sister.
Phew. Sisterly approval secured. But what about Mr. Bennet? Telling him must be daunting.
It is. Elizabeth goes to her father's study. Mr. Bennet is initially skeptical, even concerned, knowing Elizabeth's previous opinion of Darcy. He questions her seriously, needing reassurance that she truly respects and loves him, not just marrying him for his wealth.
Elizabeth earnestly convinces him of Darcy's true character and her genuine affection. Mr. Bennet, seeing her sincerity, gives his heartfelt, if slightly surprised, consent and blessing. Mrs. Bennet, when told, is rendered speechless with shock, then ecstatic about the wealth and status.
This chapter explores those final family dynamics. Elizabeth's happiness is confirmed by gaining the approval of those she respects most, Jane and her father.
Parental consent was still crucial, even for an independent woman like Elizabeth. Gaining that blessing matters.
It's like getting the thumbs up from your closest family or friends today after announcing an engagement. That validation adds to the joy.
Austen shows how even this profound love needs to navigate family expectations and be integrated into the wider family structure.
And Mrs. Bennet's reaction is pure gold.
Classic Mrs. Bennet. Okay, almost there. If you've loved this journey, please like, subscribe, and share. Let's wrap things up in Chapter 60.
Chapter 60:24. Resolutions. With the engagements announced, Elizabeth and Darcy spend more time together, talking openly about their pasts.
Do they rehash everything? The awful first proposal? The letter?
Yes, they discuss their journey, often with humor now, laughing about their initial impressions and misunderstandings. Darcy explains how Lady Catherine's interference actually gave him hope. They plan their future, letters are written to aunts and uncles. The practicalities of engagement begin.
It's lovely to see them relaxed and happy together, fully understanding each other. The family gradually adjusts to the astonishing news of both daughters marrying so advantageously.
This chapter ties up the central romance beautifully, emphasizing their mutual growth, understanding, and shared humor. It prepares for the novel's close by showing them as a compatible, happy couple.
Engagements involve planning, settlements, social adjustments. They are entering that phase.
It's like modern couples reflecting on their how we met story or their journey together, maybe planning the wedding or discussing their future home. That shared history becomes part of their bond.
Austen celebrates their hard-won mutual understanding and mature love.
It feels earned and satisfying.
Absolutely. Okay, final thoughts coming up. One last time. Like, subscribe, share. Let's get the final updates in Chapter 61.
Chapter 61:25. Happy endings. The novel concludes with the weddings. Elizabeth marries Darcy, and Jane marries Bingley. A double wedding or close together.
The happy endings we were hoping for. Does Austen tell us what happens next?
Yes, she provides a brief overview of the characters' futures. Jane and Bingley eventually buy an estate near Pemberley, so the sisters remain close. Kitty Bennet improves greatly by spending time with her older, settled sisters. Mary remains studious at home.
And what about Lydia and Wickham? Any improvement there?
Sadly, no. They remain impulsive and financially irresponsible, moving frequently, relying on Darcy and Elizabeth for occasional help. Their marriage is shown as a consequence of their folly, not a reward. Lady Catherine eventually reconciles with Darcy, and the Gardiners remain close, cherished friends.
Austen delivers a satisfying conclusion, rewarding the characters who demonstrated growth, virtue, and genuine love, like Elizabeth, Darcy, Jane, and Bingley. But she also provides realistic consequences for those who didn't change, like Lydia and Wickham.
Happy endings in Regency novels often reinforced moral ideals, rewarding virtue, but Austen tempers the fairy tale with realism.
It's like modern rom-com endings, but with that extra layer of realism. Not everyone gets a perfect happily ever after if they haven't earned it through personal growth.
Austen balances the joy of the main couple's happiness with the realistic consequences of others' poor choices, creating a timeless and resonant resolution. It celebrates resilience and love, but doesn't ignore folly.
A truly masterful ending to a masterpiece.
Reflecting on Pride and Prejudice, we've seen how pride can blind and prejudice can obscure the truth. But beyond the grand romance and societal battles, what does it truly take in our own lives, day to day, to shed those initial judgments, those biases, and allow for profound personal growth, both in ourselves and maybe just as importantly, in how we see the people around us?
That's a powerful question to end on. It really makes you think about your own pride, your own prejudices. We hope this deep dive has given you a fresh perspective on this incredible novel.
Yeah, maybe inspired you to revisit Pride and Prejudice with some of these themes and contexts in mind. See Darcy and Elizabeth's journey and maybe even your own interactions with slightly different eyes.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into Jane Austen's world here on Book Podcast Zone.
It's been a pleasure. Until next time.